Another day in the NBA here, and this looks like a bigger slate than yesterday for sure. We'll see if it's going to be a fun one. We're going to dig in and do what we always do here on the Splash Play channel. We're going to compare my projections to one of the industry leaders out there, our friends over at Stokastic. We'll see who the top plays are, who the top value plays are. We'll also go game by game. We'll check the ownership along the way, see where the leverage lies. We'll hop over to Stokastic, run a sim, see what the top ROI lineups are. I'll do a hand build, and by the end of this video, guys, you'll know all the industry's must plays along with my splash plays for today, February 24th, 2026. Let's get into it. Hope it was a good slate for you guys. I had a top 13 finisher yesterday, which felt pretty good. Jabari Smith getting us to the pay window there for the most part, but still was a slate where Rockets coming up a lot for me. I had tamped them down a little bit in my data, but went well for me. Hopefully went well for you guys as well. But it's a new slate today with a lot more games than yesterday's paltry little 3-gamer, so we'll figure it out. Shout out to the chat as well. We got our guy Isaac here, Spags and Sexting. I presume he means Colin Sexton on the thumbnail and not sexting, because boy, that's a relic of the past. Pre-COVID days, but appreciate that. We got Chunk here as well. Glad to see all you guys here live, and of course all you guys watching after the fact as well. Shout out to you too. But let's get into it here with our top projected plays. The man of the day is going to be Jalen Johnson, facing Washington here. Price tag at a 10.8 salary, a little bit aggressive at this point, but still a 51.1 projection for Jalen Johnson. Big thing for Jalen Johnson that I don't love for him today is that you are going to get Jonathan Kuminga making his debut, and Kuminga probably going to be on a minutes limit, you would guess, is a player that adds some more usage to the equation. A guy that's now looking to find his long-term home / show that, the Warriors were wrong about how they dealt with him after a lot of acrimony built up in that time period for Golden State. So for Jalen Johnson, I think that he'll be a guy that creates some of those assists that go Kuminga's way, but he'll still be another ISO ball player that maybe takes some possessions away from Jalen Johnson. I still expect most of the offensive flow his way, though, so I have no issue being with the fields. 29% ownership today on Jalen Johnson. Not a lot of pay-up options we like on the slate. In fact, only one guy above 50 fantasy points, according to both me and Stokastic, and that is Jalen Johnson. So he's a guy you're going to want to get to some amount today facing Washington. Obviously increases the chance of that triple-double happening bright and early on this slate. So Jalen Johnson, good salary, or really aggressive salary, but still a good spot for him, and one of those situations where I can't imagine being too under the field at the field's 29% ownership. Tyrese Maxey at number 2. Joel Embiid, a Q tag right now. If he doesn't play, Tyrese Maxey will look better. As we talked about, though, a lot, Tyrese Maxey does, despite getting, a high-usage player like Embiid off the court, does play worse without Embiid out there, does play worse as well with Embiid and Paul George out. Obviously, Paul George still serving his suspension for whatever the drug was. I think he was doing ketamine, was what it came out as being. That said, for Tyrese Maxey here, facing Indiana, a team that doesn't want to win, 37-minute projection from Tyrese Maxey, gives him about a 49.5 projection for me, 49.2 for Stokastic. Fields at 25% on Maxey. I'm getting 35. And I've said it the last few slates as Maxey's been mega chalk with Joel Embiid out. Maxey, every slate pops up a little bit in my data, as it's been the case for the Sixers being shorthanded. Just means that more points should theoretically go Maxey's way, more usage as well. But he does disappoint a lot in these spots. If Embiid's out, I think that, Maxey will gain more ownership, and then the chance of him being a little bit too dialed in defensively and not getting the same opportunities because Embiid's not drawing attention away. There could be a situation that occurs with Maxey, has happened a few times lately. But for Maxey at his salary, I think he looks good. And the minutes too for Maxey being so high, like if he does produce about 1.5, 1.6 fantasy points per minute in a game, because he plays so many minutes, like he's going to go nuts. He's going to break the slate. So another guy that I'm up on right now, getting 35% across my 100,000 contest sims. Fields at 25%. So Maxey looking good here. Will look better though for both the field and the projections if Embiid is out. Donovan Mitchell, 9.5% owned by the field. I'm getting 12% here. For Mitchell, it's going to be a spot again where we have James Harden creeping up in usage. You also have Evan Mobley in today, who he won't play those back-to-backs, but he will play a game like today. So 2 high-usage players in with Mitchell. Not a great seed for him. Mitchell as well, as opposed to the early start with Harden coming in, where Mitchell was gunning. Now it's kind of leveling out. These guys around 20 to 25% usage each. The team overall flattening that usage out is not a great thing for Mitchell, who's priced at $9,500. You really need him to get a bunch of shots up for him to pay off that price tag. You can definitely hit the ceiling against the Knicks, competitive game environment, but I just don't love the situation for Mitchell. So Fields at 10%. I see him in 12% of my winning lineups across, again, the 100,000 contest sims I run here on my splashplaypodcast.com site. I think Donovan Mitchell, a player that has a ceiling, so we don't want to ignore him on a slate where you just don't have a lot of guys projected super highly. But I think for Donovan Mitchell, not a priority play by any stretch. MPJ. So again, not a lot of guys that project over 50. Only Jalen Johnson. Not all the guys are projected over 40 either. Michael Porter Jr. is one of those guys for me facing a Dallas team that is not particularly great. Certainly the motivation waning even more so with Cooper Flagg still out. For Michael Porter Jr. too, last game he played for the Nets, I think he played just shy of 35 minutes. Let me just quickly look this up here because I don't want to talk entirely out of my ass. Your last game versus the Hawks, MPJ played 34 and a half minutes. So Brooklyn, not tanking the same way as the other teams because I don't believe they have their own pick. For Michael Porter Jr., that's a benefit to him if he's going to play big minutes, maybe play for his next team, or I guess being the future of the Nets potentially. I don't think it's a likely outcome, but it's an outcome that can happen. MPJ 8,600 in a competitive game. I like that spot. My projections for MPJ always a little bit higher. He has gained a ton of usage and opportunity with Cam Thomas out, and the fact that the minutes are up now, kind of like we talked about yesterday with the Kings, and we saw the Kings crazily. They played DeRozan and Westbrook in the fourth quarter. Teams sometimes kind of have these ebbs and flows of what they're trying to do. The Nets, it seemed like, were tanking and just trying to not play these guys a lot. Post-trade deadline, though, Porter Jr.'s minutes being back up, I think you could have a little more faith there. So I'll be up on MPJ by a little bit. I'm at 14% right now. Fields at 13. And I think for me, based on my projection being, 2.5 fantasy points higher, I think I'll have him a little bit more above the field and actually gets a lock. James Harden, the other part of the Donovan Mitchell equation, projects a little bit worse for me at 40.6 fantasy points compared to Donovan Mitchell at 43.7. But Harden at 5% ownership. He has a ceiling, but kind of like we talked about with Mitchell, he has to take usage away, take opportunity away from other guys like Mitchell, like Mobley, to really hit that ceiling. So I don't see this game with the Knicks being a super high total game where a bunch of guys get there at really high salaries. I just don't see Harden being a priority, but the field's at 5%. He made 7% of my winning lineup, so he's not a dead player or anything. Joel Embiid at 9,700. Q tag on him like we talked about with Tyrese Maxey. For Embiid, though, the field's at 11%. I'm only getting 5. My projection only a 4.2x value. Not crazy about Embiid in my data. He's also a lot lower in the projection as well. 40.5 fantasy points for me compared to 44.2 for Stokastic. So Embiid was coming up for me for a while, and then frankly, I'm not mad being lower on him today coming off the injuries. I guess he could pay off, but at 9,700, I don't think I want to be want to pay that freight to find out. I'd rather go to Jalen Johnson, find the $1,100 and do that. I'd rather pay the $100 more to go to Maxey. Maxey will be higher owned, so that's your reason, I guess, to go to Embiid here. But 9,700 coming off his leg being injured again, I don't think that's a spot you go nuts on Embiid, even if you're with the field on him. Right now, I'm under, though, by a good amount, getting 5%, and the field's at 11. LaMelo Ball, another rounded up 5% for the field. I'm getting 7. His minutes limit doesn't help out for Charlotte as well. Getting Diabate back in, not a helpful thing necessarily on paper. And getting the debut of Kobe White as well, not a great thing either. Bridges too. He has been fantastic this year, but is another mouth to feed usage-wise. So for LaMelo, the matchup for Chicago is not bad, but at a 40 fantasy point projection, $8,900 salary, not seeing it in a major way for LaMelo. Tournament ceiling for sure. But there's a reason the field's at 5% and I'm getting 7. It's just he's not a priority play, not a great play in my opinion. And then Scotty Barnes got 3% ownership for the field. I'm getting him at 4%. Barnes being back in here quickly went nuts without Barnes over the weekend. Put up, I think, 50 fantasy points and like a 30% usage rate in a game without Barnes. So did Brandon Ingram in that spot. Barnes, though, seemingly trending to being in. So facing OKC, not a great matchup. $9,100 salary, but if Toronto stays competitive versus OKC, even with SGA out, even potentially with Chet Holmgren out, Scotty Barnes probably has a hand in that. So I don't mind him from that front. Last night was bad, but it was hard. For me, it was horrible. Sorry to hear that. I mean, look, I will say for me, like, not a lot of my lineups were great, but the one that broke out finished almost top 10. So I didn't feel too bad about it, but that's sort of how DFS goes. You need one little turtle to get to the shore, and some nights they do not. All right, we're going to sort by value here. I didn't mean to sort by night slate. We're going to sort by value here, guys. Before I do that, though, one quick ask. Please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Goes a long way for any creator you enjoy on YouTube, even the big companies, but especially independent, smaller creators like me. I'm just showing up doing the work all by myself every day. This afternoon spent recoding stuff on Claude. I've been also working with ChatGPT's coding stuff, trying to make the site as good as can be. Also getting ready for MLB. Also trying to see if I can do anything for NFL best ball, which I don't think I'm going to do, but that's not related. point being that I show up and do the work as best I can here every Monday to Friday at 2 p.m. prepared as I can be, as well-rounded as I can be in my approach, and that's what you get here. So please show some love back by hitting that like button and then subscribing, as you guys have so much lately. Just keep doing it. Stokastic as well, 15% off, promo code SPLASH over there. All their stuff, updates throughout the day, and really key ways to get yourself good lineups. No matter what you're going to play in a slate, using Stokastic data will give you the best version of that. So check it out for yourself. I always say here, idiot-proof, great DFS lineups, and you see it night after night. The guys who are really good at it can win 100K up top with their 150 maxing. You, as somebody that just wants to get better at it, find the package that works for you. Get 15% off the promo code SPLASH over at Stokastic. And while we're plugging Stokastic, it will be on their live before lock show the next couple days, so stay tuned there as well. And of course, check out splashplaypodcast.com. The big way to get all the stuff I show you here on screen is available for you at splashplaypodcast.com. So my projections, my simulation data across 100,000 contest sims, game by game stat breakdowns as well, my player matrix, that's all available to you at splashplaypodcast.com. So check it out. You can still sign up through YouTube and get access there, but it is cheaper if you go to splashplaypodcast.com, and I get more money. So the classic win-win when you join there. And shout out to you guys that have joined lately. I should probably real fast read off some names to give shout outs to people that have joined, because I feel like that's a thing that usually works well. Shout out Richard, Edwin, Harry, Mike, Braden. I feel like I'm reading like fake names like Mo Sislak on The Simpsons. Michael, Andrew, Mark, Sean, Caden, some of the names that have signed up lately. A lot of VIPs too, so shout out to that. But join splashplaypodcast.com. Check out the site to learn more. And of course, you can see the screens I'm showing you here, but the stuff all updates, so keep that in mind. Speaking of things that are going to update, value, Alondis Williams coming up here. So right now in Stokastic's data, they're not giving Justin Champagnie any minutes. I think they were concerned that he wasn't going to play. Now he is seemingly going to be available, so that should knock this down a little bit. That said, Alondis Williams, we talked about him, I think, before anybody else in the industry did. He ended up going for 50 fantasy points the day that we did talk about him. It's a lot of minutes for Alondis Williams lately. The issue is his usage has been terrible. Even the day that he put up the 50 fantasy points, he ended up scoring 25 real life points in that game, but he still only had about an 18% usage rate. So, like, normally guys that do a lot of stuff, like for Alondis Williams, he's rebounding pretty well, creating some assists, some steals as well. There's upside in doing that. But really the bigger upside is when you're a chucker, when you're getting a lot of shots up. Alondis Williams is not that. So that's where I get a little bit worried. That said, he popped in my data the other day. We talked about him at so much, like him and Kaderi Richmond, who's no longer on the team. His contract ended. Talked about these guys on stream at length the other day, and I kind of let myself get spooked by, I was doing a show with Josh Engelman on that Friday on Stokastic. I was like, you know what? Stokastic's minutes aren't there. I'm not going to force it in. Ended up not playing enough Alondis Williams when he goes for 50. I don't think he goes for 50 again here today, but he will probably get you 25, 28 minutes, somewhere in that range. Stokastic has him at 30. He can get there too. He could theoretically play 35. I think for Alondis Williams, I just don't think he's going to be as efficient per minute as he has been. So I'm questioning this data a little bit. I'll be with the field no matter what, but I don't think he'll be a 61% play for me like he is right now. Fields at 26%. The Fields 26%, I think, is more than enough. But at 4,300, he's the best value play in the slate right now. Just definitely one that I would say has some real floor to it that we haven't seen yet. Shout out Squeak here for the super sticker. I appreciate that. Did we say Alondis? We did indeed. He's your top value, so you got to know the name. Your number 2 guy, Colin Sexton. He's on the thumbnail. So there's another thing, and this is going to be an ongoing theme, I think, at least for now. These runs of Stokastic's minutes in the early parts of the day, I just don't see it. Yesterday in Devin Carter, I went hard against that. He ended up not playing, so we didn't really get a read on it with that back injury he had. But for Colin Sexton, he was really out of the rotation last game for Chicago. And let's pull up the Add More Funds NBA Wowie tool, because I'm still paying for it, so we'll use this one. Stokastic has one as well, but I'm still used to the Add More Funds version of it. So Bulls played the Knicks on the 22nd, so that was Sunday. We had no Anthony Simons, no Jaden Ivey. He was already out for his injury. Colin Sexton didn't play until 9.5 minutes left in the third quarter. Then he played a 5-minute stint, didn't play again until the fourth quarter, and he got a slightly longer stint here. I just don't know why Stokastic thinks that he's going to get 33 minutes today. So we have Jalen Smith out today, but that's going to basically mean that you have Nick Richards and Gershon Yabusele splitting 48 minutes at center. I don't see how Colin Sexton gains in minutes here in the way that Stokastic is expecting, because with Trey Jones and Gideon, they have enough guys to go to that aren't Sexton. So I'm not buying this ownership number right now. If you give him 33 minutes, he projects well. I'm in a 35 projection, but I just don't think the 33 minutes are correct. So this is one, much like yesterday, it's showing up right now. If you got Sexton starting, I'd be surprised, but like, then cool, play him a bunch. But if he doesn't start, and this is the same thing here, we talk to these guys at 2 p.m. Eastern, the data updates, as I always mention, throughout the night. But like for you guys that are watching this video and you don't see anything else I do, just keep in mind, if the guy is now not starting, like just downgrade him. And I just don't know what Stokastic is trying to do here with Colin Sexton. Actually, real fast, let me check their data hub. Because I presume they have him listed as a starter. No, they don't. They have him getting 31 minutes off the bench, which just doesn't make sense. So my guess is they'll move that. It does sort of make the data not as clean as it could be, but Sexton right now looks like a mega value. I don't think that'll hold all day. Micah Potter, another guy who's been a mega value on slates lately at 4,200, getting about 25.7 minutes for Stokastic. He'll play off the bench no matter what, most likely. So if he were to start, great, but he doesn't start very often. That said, again, he should not be starting because they just had Simons out last game and he didn't start. So no, that's not correct. For Micah Potter, though, 18% owned by the field. I'm getting 33% across 100,000 contest sims. For Micah Potter, he's not a great per minute producer, but he's putting up enough overall this year, putting up 0.9 fantasy points a minute, accounting for who's available in the matchup today for Indiana. I'd have him at 1.03. So Potter, not a bad per minute producer. I don't mind him. I think there's going to be better value that opens up on the slate, but Potter right now making about a third of my lineups in the fields at 18%. Sharif Cooper, fields at 6%. I'm getting 11. We talked about him a couple slates ago. The minutes were not quite as good as Stokastic had projected there either. Right now, they're giving him 27.5. That feels high to me as well. Melendez, I think you could talk me into giving him 30 in a projection. Sharif Cooper giving him 27.5. I think that feels aggressive. Let me just really quickly check how many minutes he put up last game. Sharif Cooper played 22 minutes last game. You could see here. So I don't know. Again, I don't know why they're giving him 27 today. It's not that different of a situation. Again, there is a little bit of like personal choice to building minutes and all that. And part of why I was talking about this in Discord a little bit yesterday. I like using Stokastic's minutes instead of building my own because I don't want to have my bias be doubled up in the data. But like, I just don't agree with the minutes they're giving Sharif Cooper. So at 4,200, if you give him 28 minutes, he looks okay. But I just don't think he's going to get 28 minutes. So field 6%, I'm getting 11. I think Sharif Cooper an okay value play, but he's not going to come up nearly as much if you're getting 24 minutes in the data. So I think some questionable minutes choices right now that'll probably tighten up as the day goes on. Jarris Walker playing reliable minutes for the Pacers. One thing I wanted to look up before the show. Is he related to Jarris Walker, to Jabari Walker? They are both playing today. Doesn't look like they're related. I really would have thought with their names, again, no racist, but like would have thought with Jabari and Jarris being kind of similar names, the J.A. kind of sounds, would have thought they're brothers, but no, apparently not related. All right. So no extra boost to that because of it. But how it looks right now for Jarris Walker, this is just, I was going to give a fun aside, like, oh, he's playing his brother Jabari. No, he's not. That said, for Jarris Walker, he's been a guy that's popped up a lot in the data. Today, I'm getting him about 39 fantasy points. Stokastic has him at 36. I like Jarris Walker generally. The price tag, though, at 6,700. You are now paying full freight for Jarris Walker in a game environment that's not going to be as good as when he was playing, Washington a couple times in a week. So for Jarris Walker, field's 25%. I'm at 43. I think unlike, your Sharif Coopers, your to a lesser extent, Alanis Williams, I don't think the data is going to move that much on Jarris Walker. And it could get better because the Pacers have some Q-tag guys that are, potentially could be out. But Jarris Walker, a lot of ownership for me right now, and it's spooky to chase a guy this much ownership-wise when the price tag is like, it's really sailing up for Jarris Walker now. Rob Dillingham. So Rob Dillingham also getting a crazy amount of minutes from Stokastic here, getting 24. Last game, Dillingham played 24 flat, so that seems more reasonable to me than what they're giving Sexton. But Dillingham, not been a great producer so far this year, only getting 22 points in my projection right now. Stokastic's at 22.4. That's enough to get Dillingham at 15% of my lineups, Fields at 16%. Dillingham, not a great play on paper, but I do think he and Sexton probably have very similar ranges of outcomes for minutes. And based on last game, I think you could expect Dillingham to play more minutes, and Stokastic has that flipped in a really meaningful way that might not be correct. Love Precious got scared off him. I mean, yeah, he wasn't a great day to play, but he hit. That's every NBA slate though. You can't really kill yourself that much over that. But you should have a process in place that allows you to define those guys and play whoever your process is telling you who to play. So if it's just you wanting to play Precious because you had a feeling and you woke up this morning, had a dream about him, that's probably not the most special thing in the world. But if you wanted to play Precious because it's like, oh, I think that maybe Raynaud and Keegan Murray as mega chalk aren't going to play as many minutes, or they won't be as productive in the minutes they share with Achua, then that's process. So, follow your heart, but you can't hit on everybody. That's unfortunately how DFS goes. Brandon Pajemski, another top value here, 31% owned by the field. I'm at 36. You got no Butler still. Obviously, the rest of the year, long term, could be out for a while. It's probably need to bring him up. Steph Curry out as well. Pajemski at 6,200, facing the Pelicans, the biggest thing he has going for him. About a 35.3 projection for me, 35.2 for Stokastic. I would say, unlike your Alondas Williamses, unlike your Sharif Coopers, and unlike your Sextons and Dillinghams, I think Pajemski's going to get those minutes they're giving him. I think the matchup is good enough versus the Pelicans, though at 6,200, it's not really cheap anymore for Pajemski at this point. And Isaiah Hartenstein will look better if Holmgren is out. That said, coming up right now for me with about a 34.7 projection, much higher than Stokastic's at 31.2. Assist rate's been up quite a bit for Hartenstein lately, having no AJ Mitchell out there a lot, having no SGA out there as well. So Hartenstein, a guy I'm willing to be above the field on. Fields is 17%. I'm getting 31, but he is another guy at 6,100. Not really a value. I feel like just one thing to kind of close the value section of the video. There's not screaming values right now. Like, people will chase Alondas. People feel bad about not getting him at 50 fantasy points last time that they had him. Then they'll miss that over the weekend. He came back down to earth a little bit. You have decent plays here, but I don't think any of them are as good as the ownership indicates. So I'll say that out loud right now. We'll see how it changes when we do the live before lock show on Stokastic later today. We're going to go game by game now, guys. Again, before we do that, one more ask. Please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Goes a long way for me here. Goes a long way for any video you enjoy on YouTube, but in particular for me, I show up to do the work as best I can here on this channel Monday to Friday at 2 p.m. And really, for me, that means the more that you guys hit the like button, the more that I can get rewarded for that work in terms of revenue, in terms of views, and all that stuff. So please do keep hitting that like button, keep subscribing, and shout out to all you guys that have been doing it lately, because we're now safely getting over 2K views in every video, and I would like to keep that going as much as we can and get to 3K. Can we get to 4K? Everybody says NBA DFS is dying, but if we get to 4K views, that's not dead. Check out Stokastic as well, 15% off. Again, link down below. All their data will update as the day goes on, so check it out for yourself over at Stokastic. Promo code SPLASH, only deal they have going right now for all their DFS products, so check it out. Any package, weekly, monthly, even yearly, get it for 15% off. The promo code SPLASH over at Stokastic. And of course, you can go join the channel here, get into the live chat for $5. But now the big way to get all my data at splashlightpodcast.com is to join over there. $10 off compared to the old YouTube prices, but also saves you money, saves me money as well by joining over there. And you get all these screens. If you join the squirt tier, you get the matchup screen updated throughout the night. You just get the matrix here, the player matrix, great for hand building. As well here, you could sort by sim ownership or sim representation, projection, all that stuff. If you're on the VIP tier, you get my projections updated throughout the night, exportable, so you can do whatever you want with them. My simulation data across 100,000 contest sims, that updates as well. Whenever I push a data update, I rerun the sims. You can't see that. Export stuff, this is my Stokastic sim export if you want to use my data on Stokastic. Our guy Adam actually finished ahead of me in the 4-point play yesterday using my data on Stokastic sims. So a lot of good things for you if you join the VIP tier, in particular at splashlightpodcast.com. But right now, join down below on one of them, Squirt Squad tier or VIP tier, and you'll be better at NBA DFS for it. I can promise that. All right, let's go game by game here. We got Sixers at Pacers, 232.5 combined points here. Pacers, 121 implied points, one of the better totals on the slate. Tyrese Maxey, the only Sixer popping up here, though, 35% owned for me. Let me pull in the Stokastic data. 35% owned for me, Fields at 25%. That's it for Maxey. I do think that he will look better if Embiid is out, and unfortunately, I think that he might be a worse play for it because the ownership will come up a bunch, and then he does play worse per minute with Embiid not out there. It's crazy that that's the case, but He might need the spacing more than it seems. Still don't mind getting to Maxey, though, above the field, no matter what the configuration is. If Embiid's in, I'll play Maxey more in the field. If Embiid's out, I think that's probably where he'll be like a 50% play, and I'll be holding hands to the field, I think, on that, but probably not going too much above it. Joel Embiid, I just don't see it in the projections right now. Only a 4.2x value for me. Fields 11%. He's coming off leg injuries. I don't want to be there, but if Maxey does, end up 25% owned, there's theoretical leverage there to going to Embiid. VJ Edgecombe, don't see it with Embiid back in. If Embiid's out, he'll look a lot better. Quentin Grimes, Oubre, same thing. Barlow, same thing as well at 4,400. But Embiid's a Q tag right now. You'll know before lock if he's going to go or not. So that's really the key things we need to know for the Sixers right now. If Embiid's in, though, to me, just mostly Maxey. On the Pacers side, highest owned player is going to be Jarris Walker. Fields at 25%. I'm getting that 43% number we mentioned. Again, Jarris Walker, good per minute producer across every category. And really with these skeleton crew Pacers teams, and in particular right now, still no Siakam. Jarris Walker's a big winner of all that. Micah Potter, the Fields at 18%. I am at 33. Again, not a stellar play necessarily, only putting up 0.9 fantasy points minute on the year. But much like Jarris Walker, contributes in every category, so he does look better on these shorthanded Pacers teams. Talon Peters, Stokastic has McConnell not playing minutes and Talon Peter playing more. I don't know what the deal is with that. If Peter's minutes stabilize back to what they should be and McConnell gets some amount of run in, then that'll look different. This is one of those things where I trust Stokastic's minutes, and sometimes they just look kind of nonsensical in this time of the day, and I don't really know what they're doing right here. But Jarris Walker and Micah Potter, they're going to hang in as players that will pop up a lot, I think, no matter what. If Nembhard's out, then all the point guards look better as well for Indiana. But Nembhard in right now, not looking too good himself. Wizards at Hawks, 238.5 combined points. Believe this is the best total on the slate. Let me just look at all of them at once to make sure. Yeah, best one on the slate. For Washington here, we talked about Alondas Williams already. He's our chalkiest Wizard, 25.5% owned by the field. Right now, I'm getting him in 61% of my lineups. That said, Stokastic not giving Champagnie any minutes in the data. I think that's going to affect a guy like Alondas Williams' projection a little bit. So basically, Champagnie's another guy, contributes a little bit in every category, rebounds, assists, steals. These are things that have been helping out Alondas Williams lately. So having Champagnie in the data, I think, makes Alondas Williams level out a little bit more. That said, still willing to take the shot in him. I just worry that the field's going to chase a little bit too much. After on Friday, he did go for that 50 fantasy points, and people will miss it over the weekend. He kind of stabilized at about 20 fantasy points and change. Vucevic, kind of unplayable now. Price tag's up. Minutes aren't secure enough. He could be great per minute against the Hawks. I just don't think I would want to be with the field's 10%. Sharife Cooper, the lesser version of Alondas Williams, also playing shitty minutes off the bench. That said, the minutes seem to be a little bit lower than Alondas Williams. He does get more usage, but I think these guys, I'd rather play Alondas Williams, and I still think that he's probably going to get overplayed. And that's it. So you can play anything else from the Wizards here. It's too many bodies at this point for a team that's not trying, and that's a tough recipe overall. And you could also have guys that play more minutes, like a Jaden Hardy. He's only been playing blowout run lately, but like they could always change things around too, where you get even less minutes for a Bub Carrington or a Jameer Watkins. There's too many ways the Wizards can go for an obviously tanking team right now. Hawks on their side, 126 implied points. Jalen Johnson, the big play here. Highest projected guy on the slate. Only one over 50 on the slate. So if you get Jalen Johnson in lineups, I just wouldn't kick him out too often. Fields 29%. I am at 33% across my 100,000 contest sims. Dyson Daniels, Fields at 10% ownership. I got him at 9%. Would say that for Dyson Daniels here. Not a very exciting play to me, but at his salary, shooting guard, small forward, I could see how he would make lineups, and he does always have that upside that he can contribute more steals or just score a little bit more. But at 16% usage, he's like a forgotten man in this rotation now with McCollum, Alexander Walker, adding Kuminga in. It's not great stuff. Thunder at Raptors, 216.5 over under here. Thunder with a 107.5 implied total. 1.5 point dogs on the road. Kind of seems to me like Holmgren shouldn't play today. But right now, Holmgren's in the data. That means that only Hartenstein's coming up for the field and for me. Field's at 17%. Isaiah Hartenstein, I'm getting him at 31%. He's been a really good producer when you take SGA off the court in particular. Getting Holmgren off would help him out a little bit as well. But Hartenstein, I think, a nice play at 6,100 for a center that won't get overlooked in the slate, but won't be mega chalk for sure. But Thunder will look better if you get Holmgren out. All over the weekend, Cason Wallace went for like 50 fantasy points in a game. He's one of those guys that's been playing so terribly last year compared to the historical sample size. that I'd watch out for that, but now he's 6,500, so it would take a real leap of faith to play him again, and I just don't think you want a box score chase like that. But if you get, Holmgren out, thinking about the Thunder a little bit more would not be a crazy thing to do. Raptors here, 109 implied points, nothing coming up. Yeah, I don't see how this changes. I don't think Barnes is questionable, is he? Let's check the latest injury report to make sure. Yeah, Barnes not a Q tag today. Even with Pirtle out, nothing looks good. So don't see much for Toronto here, but if Holmgren's out, it could be an uglier version of the matchup, and Toronto's star players, pretty expensive. Barnes at 9,100, Ingram 8,400 on DK. Quickly at 7,400 after the big game he had over the weekend. There's probably a world where the Raptors could hit and win a tournament. I just don't see how you do it at those price tags. Dallas at Brooklyn here. Again, no Cooper Flag. Obviously, the other, AD gone. That kind of stuff. Helping out the rates a little bit for these guys. Chris Middleton's minutes have been up. Getting 25% owned by the field. I'm getting 20. Not a very exciting play, but at 5K, getting 28 minutes, that's enough to do it for a guy that's producing 0.9 fan sports minute on the year. Yeah, I've been producing 0.1 today, accounting for the matchup with Brooklyn and who's available for the Mavs. PJ Washington fields at 20%. I'm getting 17. Don't really think he's a great player or anything, but a 5x value at power forward, you're going to get him a little bit because that's going to make lineups work pretty well. Marvin Bagley has not been producing as well as a Mav. The minutes are not great either, but the field's 10%. I'm getting 4. Najee Marshall has been one of your bigger winners from all the usage going around for the Mavs. That said, it's not guaranteed to him game to game. So shooting guard, small forward eligibility, 6,400, fields at 9%. I got 10. Not really a noteworthy stand, but I feel like he's a low-owned play that I don't mind here. Really, the Mavs in general, I mean, Middleton's not low-owned. Washington, closer to low-owned. Najee Marshall being a lever against those guys. Being shooting guard, small forward, having a ceiling. I don't mind Najee in this matchup. The Nets, MPJ is probably my preferred guy here, but none of them are really preferred in a real way. Porter's Jr. is going to be owned about 13% by the field. I have him at 14. Do you think the upside's higher than Stokastic's projection gives him? I'm at about a 42 projection. Stokastic has him at 39.6 for MPJ. Nick Claxton fields at 10%. I'm getting 8. Clowney fields at 8%. I'm getting 6. The Nets, not really in a good matchup against the Mavs team. That's a decent defense, at least league average, probably a little better than that. MPJ, though, I do think has a real ceiling here. You will see some pretty tough wing defense, but I like MPJ, and accounting for the matchup and all that in the total, I have him producing 1.45 fan sports minute today, so I'll take my shots on MPJ, but you certainly don't have to. He doesn't look like a screaming play or anything. Knicks at Cavs. Knicks look really not that great here than a game with a 232.5 combined total. Cat's the only player coming up, 14% for the field. I'm at 13. Josh Hart fields at 7. I'm getting 6. Jalen Brunson, 7 and 7 for me and the field. I don't see it for the Knicks. It should be like a playoff kind of environment. Sometimes that can bring the ceiling out of players. I guess Wemby in that Pistons game yesterday, one of your better examples. Awful first half, and he went nuts in that second half. But, it is a low total game, too better than league average defenses by a little bit. I don't see it for the Knicks. And Cavs, same thing. I feel like we talked about Mitchell and Harden enough in the beginning part of the video. Those guys have a ceiling. Everything else here, I really don't see it at Allen and Mobley's price tag. Allen now priced for the games he has that are good when Mobley's out. Mobley in. Just not the same situation for him with Harden getting usage next to Mitchell. It's like a good real-life game. Fantasy-wise, I just don't see it. Warriors at Pelicans. Podziemski's going to be the priority play here in this game with 227.5 combined total. Fields at 31%. I have 36. Again, Podziemski at 6,200 facing a not great Pelicans team. This is the kind of spot where all the usage he has can pay off. Moses Moody fields at 18.5%. I'm getting 18. Not a big stand there. Guy Santos, similar amount. Al Horford still in the data. That'll make the other guys look better when he comes out because he did get ruled out right before the show. Yeah, I think for the Warriors, mostly Podziemski. Moody and Guy, I don't mind. Draymond, I just don't see it at 5,500. Really, Podziemski's the only player of note here, and if I didn't have any of these guys, I just don't think it would affect me too much on the slate. Happily just play anybody else, but Podziemski looks decent. Pelicans, 113 implied points here. So probably not going to get the surprise DeAndre Jordan start again, but I guess you could, so keep an eye out for that. Did happen over the weekend on Saturday. And he played really well, played a lot of minutes in that game relatively as well. But Zion Williamson also went nuts in that spot, basically with DeAndre Jordan starting that game. And it's actually kind of interesting. DeAndre Jordan ended up being kind of Zion's personal valet, just was like screening for him over and over and over again. So Zion had one of his best games of the year, I think in large part because of that. So there's a chance you get something weird here. But I think for Zion Williamson, 21% owned, getting 17%. I'm good with that number on Zion right now because getting a guy like DeJounte Murray back in, this doesn't help the statistical outlay for a guy like Zion who's not playing enough minutes always. The minutes are up now with the 32-minute projection. Does Murray back end the pool party? I would think so. Pool's still getting 25 minutes from Stokastic data here. I wouldn't want to play him at 4,300, but he's still a 5x value. So if you want to play Jordan Poole, knock yourself out. Saddiq Bey, Fields at 16%. I'm getting 17. Saddiq Bey, always a guy that pops up a little bit in the data here when he's at a reasonable price tag. He's playing a lot of minutes. He's also one of the better three-point shooters on the team now that Trey Murphy's not available, which is kind of sad to say because he's only shooting 35% from three, as you can see over here. But that said, they need anybody who can kind of stretch the floor a little bit. So, Saddiq Bey, not an awful play here. Derek Queen, not an awful play either. Do think he was hurt a little bit by playing alongside DeAndre Jordan over the weekend. But for New Orleans here, mostly Zion. Don't mind Saddiq. And definitely don't play DeJounte Murray coming off the injury. Charlotte at Chicago, 233.5 combined points here. Really not a lot to love, but Diabate back in, 17% owned by the field. I'm getting 22. Price tags come down for missing a few games for suspension. Maybe he comes out motivated facing a Bulls team that's also now down Jalen Smith and really has no bigs of note behind him. Nick Richards, he'll try. Yabu, he'll try, but Diabate can clean up against those guys. Brandon Miller is unfortunately killed some lineups end of last week for me and anybody who followed me on that one. That said, Miller does gain some usage from having Bridges gone. Now Bridges is back in. So Miller, really not a play we're trying to get to at this point. You got a bunch of shots when the team was slightly shorthanded. Now they are not shorthanded. So I think Miller, we want to see that price tag come down before we're getting there in the real way. The field's at 12% on Miller. I'm getting 11. Bridges, I'm not on at all, really. Getting 7%. The field's at 12. LaMelo, field's at 5%. I'm getting 7. Not a bad spot for Charlotte, but these guys are kind of priced for the last few games having no Bridges, no Diabate. Getting those guys back in does not help out here, even though they're facing a soft Chicago team. Chicago on their side, the Sexton ownership, like I mentioned earlier, I just don't buy it. We have Giddey available. He's going to be minutes limited, but he's still playing enough. Trey Jones available. He's also going to play enough. Sexton getting 33 minutes from Stokastic. I just don't think that holds when they update. So right now he's getting a lot of ownership from me and from Stokastic, but if he's not going to play 33 minutes, he shouldn't get that much love. Rob Dillingham, his 24 minutes seem more secure to me. $3,800 salary, decent value, but hopefully better value opens up. Fields at 16% on Dillingham. I'm at 15. Nick Richards is going to look better, I would think, if Stokastic updates the minutes more than they should. Basically, my guess is that Nick Richards and Yabusele split 48 minutes. Right now, they only have them playing about 44 combined. So Nick Richards, if he were to start, would look a lot better. If Yabu starts, he'll be okay. But Richards starting at 3,900 might be an actual play that matters. Heat at Bucks. Heat at full strength at this point. Besides Nikola Jovic, not a lot to love here. Nobody coming up for me. Nobody coming up for the field. They seem like a team not to play. But if you get one guy popping up in a tournament lineup, maybe he has a ceiling to win you something at low ownership. But Bam, way too expensive to me. Hero, I don't say you play him minutes limited with how he's played this year. Powell getting squeezed by all that stuff. Don't love it. Bucks, Fields on KPJ a little bit more. Fields at 27% on Kevin Porter Jr. I'm getting 18. I have Ryan Rollins projected slightly higher, having a 10.5% owned for the field. He's making 16% of my lineups. Rollins has been gunning lately, and the minutes have occasionally been higher than Kevin Porter Jr.'s. So I'm cool being, with the field on these guys. Maybe a little bit high on Rollins, a little bit low on KPJ, but do you think you want to have some exposure here in this pace-up spot? I think either of them can pay off. Cam Thomas has been gunning on the Bucks so far, putting up 35% usage. He could pay off, but I gave him the rate boost with no Giannis. Giannis still sitting out at this point. Just don't see him being a priority play at 4,800, even though it does have a tournament ceiling. Ousmane Dieng, okay play at 3,800 is a value. 5.4x value for me. But the minutes at 24.4, not high enough. Feels like you need one more buck to be unavailable to really trust Dieng. But we don't have great value. So 3,800, Ousmane Dieng playing almost starter level minutes, not an awful play. All right, let's look at my sim data here. They'll run over to Stokastic and run a sim as well. course, this sim data you'll get updated throughout the night on the VIP tier at splashplaypodcast.com, so check it out. Right now, it's all Sexton up top. Sexton at 65% sim representation here. That means he makes 65% of the winning lineups across 100,000 contest sims. I still think that projection number, the minutes projection rather, from Stokastic is going to hold. So if I had to guess, Sexton would be one of the things I wouldn't throw it out the window, but I would bump him down substantially unless he ends up starting somehow, which I also don't think is going to happen. Alondas Williams getting 61% here. Do you think this is going to move down a little bit as well? And Stokastic updates for Justin Champagny being in. But Alondas Williams will probably play high 20s, if not 30 minutes. So there's a ceiling there. Just be mindful of not point chasing him too much after he put up 50 on Friday. He had a much less good game the next time out for Washington. Jarris Walker making 43% of my winning lineups. And then it's a pretty big fall off from there to Pajemski, Tyrese Maxey. Guys who score 30 plus the most across 100,000 contest sims. Jalen Johnson does it 100% of the time. Joel Embiid, 99% of the time. Maxey, 99 as well. Guys who score 40 plus the most, that's Jalen Johnson, number one. He does it 93% of the time. Tyrese Maxey at 84. Donovan Mitchell at 69%. 50 plus rather. It's Jalen Johnson doing it 65% of the time. Tyrese Maxey does it 52% of the time. And Donovan Mitchell does it 29% of the time. And 60 plus the most is Jalen Johnson doing it about 30%. Tyrese Maxey about 25%. And Donovan Mitchell about 7%. Just ahead of James Harden, and a very high standard deviation on Ryan Rollins. That's not me goosing anything. It's just because he does have a really big ceiling, and then he also sucks and has a floor. So that's what standard deviation is. Guys, he 5x the most. Alondas Williams, 95% of the time, he should hit 5x, assuming the minutes and all that is correct. Colin Sexton, 94% of the time. Micah Potter, 91% of the time. Guys who 6x the most, Alondas Williams is at 82% of the time. Colin Sexton, 80%, and Micah Potter, 61%. So you can see how you get so much Alondas and Sexton coming up across all the lineups. That said, really do think if the minutes get a little more sane here from Stokastic, things are going to look different. All right, let's run a Stokastic sim now, guys. Looks like they updated right before the show, so slightly updated stuff. Actually, no, updated mid-show. Let's go over here. We're going to build 5,000 lineups, have them compete 10,000 times on Stokastic. It's a little bit different than my sim data that I just showed you guys. Before we get to this part of the process, one more ask. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It goes a long way for me here. And you guys have been awesome lately smashing that like button. The more you keep smashing it, the more the views go up. So please keep hitting the like button here if you want to see me keep doing what I do Monday to Friday at 2 p.m. Preparing you guys for NBA soon, for MLB as well. Again, was working on it a lot this morning to get MLB as good as NBA is right now. Is sort of my goal. So that's something coming up on the channel. MLB videos every day too. But a lot coming up here for the two secondary sports. So stay tuned, hit the like button and subscribe. Check out Stokastic too. You're going to see a version of their sims that updated as of 2:34 p.m. But it's going to update throughout the night, especially as players move around, starting lineups move around. So keep that in mind over at Stokastic. Get it all for yourself. The promo code SPLASH. 15% off, and that's any data they have, weekly, monthly, yearly, all their data, all their tools. Get it for 15% off with the promo code SPLASH. And last part of the journey here, $5 if you want to join the live chats here on stream and support the show. Cheapest way to support what I'm doing here through YouTube. But the big way to support what I'm doing here is go to splashplaypodcast.com. It's much cheaper than it was through YouTube. So if you are a YouTube member, feel free to switch over to splashplaypodcast.com. Save yourself some money and save me some money. But also what you get on there is all the things I show you here on screen, the matchup screen, the projection matrix, that's all in the Squirt Squad tier. VIP tier, you get all the simulation data and my projections exportable, along with 4 Stokastic sims. You can use my projections on there. So join the site if you can, splashplaypodcast.com. And shout out to all you guys that have. The more of you that join, the better the content can get here. So that's the goal. All right, so your top ROI lineups according to Stokastic. Number 1, Tyrese Maxey, Brandon Pajemski, Jameer Watkins, Jarris Walker, Isaiah Hartenstein, Alondas Williams makes it, Colin Sexton makes it. Again, they're giving those guys a lot of minutes. Kevin Porter Jr. makes it as well. Jameer Watkins, really an awful player lately. He is technically your backup center at times for Washington when they don't want to play Anthony Gill and Vucevic can't play. But he's the one thing here I don't like, at least based off Stokastic data. Like Sexton, I have questions about, but if you're going to assume their minutes are correct, you get why Sexton comes up. Number 2, we have Sharif Cooper, Colin Sexton, Jarris Walker, Jameer Watkins again. Musa Diabate makes this one. KPJ makes it again. Jalen Johnson makes it, and Pajemski makes it again. Number 3, Alondas Williams in this one again. Pajemski again. Jarris Walker again. Zion Williamson's in this one. Katz in this one. Jordan Poole makes it despite DeJounte Murray in the data. Colin Sexton makes it again, and Kevin Porter Jr. in this number 3 lineup. Number 4 is Sharif Cooper, Isaiah Joe, Jameer Watkins, Jalen Johnson, Okongwu, not on my radar at all in the slate. And it's hard for me to play him with Jalen Johnson, too. I feel like you're expecting a lot there. Brandon Pajemski, Colin Sexton, Kevin Porter Jr. And at number 5, you have Tyrese Maxey, Jordan Poole, Colin Sexton, Jalen Johnson, Carlo Makovich. I'm not sure about that on this slate. Brandon Pajemski, Sadiq Bey, Alondas Williams. So definitely some overlap in those top lineups to read into. Yabu, you think looks good? I think Nick Richards might start, but again, it's going to be 48-minute split between those two, most likely, to be my guess, with Jalen Smith being out. Your highest ROI player across all of Stokastic's lineups here is Jameer Watkins. So they love him. $4,400 Jameer Watkins. What is he in my data? I've got Jameer Watkins putting up 23.9 fantasy points. He's putting up 0.75 fantasy points a minute. He should shoot better at some point than the 51% true shooting he does. I don't see it for Jameer Watkins, but he might just really make lineups work well, according to Stokastic and how they view things on the slate. Jordan Poole at number 2 and 18% ROI for him. Colin Sexton, number 3. Again, I just don't think the minutes are as high as Stokastic has given him. Carlo Makovich, a 5% ROI right behind. Sharif Cooper, rounded up 5%. Then Alondas Williams and Jarris Walker. All those guys have positive ROIs across all their lineups in the sim here. Highest exposure players. Colin Sexton makes 93% of lineups in the fields at 42. The data right now thinks that Sexton is one of the best plays in the slate. I am not seeing it based on the fact that he was basically excised from the rotation last game, even though they didn't have Simons and they didn't have Jaden Ivey. Jarris Walker, 58% exposure, fields at 24. That's a stand I could get with a little bit more. Price tag's really high for Jarris Walker now at 6,700, but no Siakam helps that out a lot, and it could get better for him if more of the Q tag guys miss. Brandon Pajemski, the field's at 31%. I'm getting 51% here in Stokastic's top 150. He looks good in the data and do think he's the only warrior I'd really want to make a stand on today. Alondas Williams, 49% exposure, fields at 22. It's a big stand at Alondas. That said, they have Champagny not playing in the data still. I don't really know why. And number 5, Tyrese Maxey, 43% exposure, fields at 32. Maxey looking good. Again, he does play better with Embiid being active. But if Embiid's out, I think the ownership will come up and his projection will come up, even though, ironically, he might become a worse play because he just has played worse this year with Embiid and Paul George off the court. Your highest leverage plays in Stokastic's data here across these top 150 lineups. Sexton, 51% more in the field. Jarris Walker, 34% more. Alondas Williams, 26% more. Not a surprise for these guys with what we already saw. Pajemski, same thing, 19% played more than the field. And Moussa Diabate, 18% more in the field, just ahead of Zion. Okay. I like Diabate as a play. He does seem like his price tag shouldn't have fallen for being suspended, but it definitely has. Draymond Green, negative 12% leverage on him. He's not getting played at all by Stokastic. Brandon Miller, same thing. I agree with that. Getting Bridges back in does not help out at all for Brandon Miller, who's priced up now for those guys being out. Pat Spencer, negative 11% leverage. He does not feel like a play to me either, really, at 5,200. Nick Richards, I think he's a good play, or a better play than Stokastic has given him. 3,900, he might start. He and Yabu, again, I think splitting 48 minutes. And Rob Dillingham, negative 10% leverage. Ryan Rollins, negative 9% leverage. Big fades on these guys here. None of them, though, feel like ones I'm particularly shocked by. Let's do the single lineup sim next, guys. If you have any questions for the members, drop them in chat. I'll take a look. So we're a little bit ahead of time here. But let's build this out. Same settings the sim we just ran. 25% to first. And let me get my projection matrix up here, so I can hand build with confidence, as you all can if you join the Squirt Squad and VIP tiers, splashplaypodcast.com. I'm saying this earnestly, but I do know, there's a little bit of irony to it. We got point guard, I think for right now, just putting in Alondas Williams. I really do think that Stokastic needs to update to give Champagny some minutes if he's going to be active, unless I missed something and I'm just wrong. Yeah, Champagny available with right knee tendinopathy. Can't believe, did I say that word right? I think I did. Yeah, so Alondas Williams, I just think a little bit overprojected right now, but he does look good in the data, so let's put him in. Shooting guard, I mean, Stokastic is going to think it's Sexton. For me, it's Pajemski. So let's try to play it like we did with Devin Carter yesterday and not put the guy in who we think is going to really materially be different on the slate when things update. So Alondas Williams, Pajemski at point guard, shooting guard. Small forward, you can play Sexton there as well. Ah, Sexton's a pretty appealing play at small forward. Let's just put him in. I was going to try to build around him. I don't agree with the minutes they're giving him, but like it's going to make the sim exercise a lot more difficult to not play him. So let's just play him. Power forward, Jarris Walker for me. He makes a winning lineup 43% of the time for me, as we talked about earlier. So he'll be my power forward. That price tag does feel scary at 6,700, but still looks good. Hartenstein, I think it'd be my center. Center looks pretty awful today, to be honest. So I think it's a real tournament dice roll kind of day at center. But Hartenstein will be decently owned by the field, but he projects well in my data. 7,400 left for these last 3 spots each. Think Potter at forward. Think Diabate at utility. It leaves us too much at guard. All right. What if we go Jalen Johnson forward? Leaves us 5,700 left for our last 2 spots. Then we go Diabate at utility still. And then guard. DeJounte Murray, no. D'Anthony Melton feels like a no, but he might have a ceiling. Bub Carrington looks like the best play in Stokastic's projections. Let's go Bub Carrington here. I feel like that's leverage against the theoretical projections that the Wizards are getting. So the team here, we're simming out Alondas Williams, Brandon Pajemski, Colin Sexton, Jarris Walker, Hartenstein, Bub Carrington, Jalen Johnson, Moussa Diabate. 89% ROI. What if we... Let's crank up the randomness and see what it gives us. We take Sexton and Carrington out. Sadiq Bey and Jordan Poole instead. How does this sim? Alondas Williams, Pajemski, Bey, Jarris Walker, Hartenstein, Poole, Jalen Johnson, Diabate. 73% ROI, 0.2% win rate. This is not bad. Again, so I really do strongly believe the Sexton stuff's going to change, but we built a lineup here without Sexton, and it's still simmed okay, so that's pretty good. But definitely right now, Stokastic Sims loving Sexton. We'll see how that looks when they update later on today. Again, as I mentioned, well, actually, no, let's do the plugs. Let's do the plugs, guys. Splash plays of the day coming up as well. Before I do that, one last ask. Please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. You guys know the deal here. I show up Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. doing the best I can to prepare you guys for these NBA slates. Sometimes it's real easy on a 3-game slate, though. I'm going to go like 10 minutes shorter on this slate, which has a lot more games I did in that 3-game slate yesterday. Really, no rhyme or reason to why the videos take longer or shorter in my brain. That said here, I do show up and do the work as best I can, as prepared as I can be, with the best tools and data at my fingertips. So show up here with me on Monday to Friday at 2 p.m. and hit that like button and subscribe, and we'll keep growing the channel as best we can to become a preeminent source of data in the world of NBA analysis. Check out Stokastic too, 15% off when you use that promo code SPLASH over there, SPLASH. That's all you got to do to enter when you are paying over there, actually, and it gets you 15% off. That's any package, weekly, monthly, even yearly. Cheap stuff, expensive stuff, all of it's 15% off over at Stokastic, so check that out with the promo code SPLASH. And last but not least, join the SplashPlayPodcast.com site. All of the screens I show you here updated throughout the night, and if you think you're getting it in good at 2 p.m., just imagine how much better things look at 6 p.m. when I'm updating. Well, even while I'm on streams, I'm updating while I'm doing that. Don't tell Stokastic. But I am updating during that all night long when things change and have to be moved. I do update them, rerun the sims for you guys across 100,000 contest sims. So you're getting insights you don't get anywhere else through my data. Check it out for yourself at SplashPlayPodcast.com. And I guarantee you'll be better in DFS for it. Even if you don't listen to it as much as you should, you'll still see things that you're just not aware of. And I think that's the key thing with NBA data, is just knowing sim outcomes and ranges of outcomes and being more aligned with them. All right. Let's go splash plays of the day here. All right, so I'm not going to say Sexton. I just don't agree with the minutes there, and I think they're going to change that. Alondas Williams, I think, will still be a splash play of the day. I don't think he'll be a 61% play for me as much as he is right now, but I think he'll be a guy that comes up as a value. The field's going to have a hard time playing him. I do think the 20 fantasy point-ish guy that we saw after the 50-point game, I think is the more likely guy we're going to see moving forward. Just the usage is not high enough, but if he's going to play 30 minutes, high 20s minutes, he's probably your best value on the slate. Pajemski is also a splash play today. Jarris Walker is a splash play today. Like a Potter is right now, unfortunately, another value splash play of the day. Hartenstein, Diabate, your mid-tier center splash plays. I'll be above the field on those guys, I think, for balanced builds. And low owned guy, MPJ. I'll say his name out loud. I think that he's worth some more exposure that the field's going to have, but it's how it looks right now. Make sure to gamble responsibly, guys, even though it is always money time here on the Splash Play channels. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow this channel at Splash Play Bets. On Twitter, you can see also whenever I'm going live at Splash Play Pod. And that's it for today, guys. So let me flash my face one more time accidentally. And I'll see you guys again soon. Again, back on Stokastic for Live Before Lock tonight. I'll be on that show. Really, I think through Saturday is where I'm going to be doing that for this week. Stay tuned there. But back tomorrow at 2 p.m. So keep your eyes peeled. Check out splashplaypodcast.com for more, guys. Things will be updating throughout the night. Enjoy your days, guys. Good luck. See you soon. And catch you on Live Before Lock, maybe. All right. Bye, guys.